I will call the meeting to order. This is our annual budget hearing. Could I have a motion for the adoption of remote participation?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, let's do roll call. Pam Stockton, yes.
Michael Ruderman, Arlington, yes.
Dave O'Connor, Bolton, yes.
Steve Ledoux, Concord, yes.
Ford Spalding, Dover, yes.
Judy Crocker, Lexington, yes.
Jeff Stuland, Needham, yes.
Alice Cousteau, yes.
Okay, I will turn it over to Ed or Steve or whoever's going to go first.
I'll let Ed go.
There you go. Can you see the full thing, or you're?
Yes.
See all the slides, yeah.
Can you see? Is it showing all the slides still?
Yes,
Yes,
it's
it
is.
all of them is showing.
Yeah, it's not in presentation mode.
Well, it is, but I have too many screens.
Yeah,
Let's see here. There we go. Better?
There we go. Yep, it's all set.
Okay, let me just. So thank you, folks that are on the school committee and folks who are attending. I'm going to go through the presentation and then I will take questions from the public. And once we've answered all the questions, we will adjourn this meeting and then open a regularly scheduled school committee meeting to discuss the budget and answer any other questions school committee members may have. So school committee members get to ask questions right as we're voting on it, and the public gets to ask questions now. And I'll try to, there we go. So any budget, we're trying to support our goals as a school community. And these are the same 8 goals, 7 or 8 goals that we've had for the last 10 years or so. Every year we revisit them, we reword them sometimes, put them in different priority. But obviously this school budget coming up is to protect the safety and health and have a supportive campus culture, promote teacher leadership, use data to make our decisions, use intelligent technology to enhance learning and teaching. We continue to integrate our curriculum maps, as the integration of curriculum is a core belief of Minuteman's. Continue to expand project-based learning and develop a rigorous integration of literacy and math throughout the curriculum. Our overall budget is up about 4.9%, but our assessments to member towns are up significantly this year, as we've discussed. And that's really, I'll take some time to explain why that is in this presentation. Our objectives follow our school goals. We want to advance the Minuteman Academy model, increase the capacity of the facility. As we all know, we've reached the design enrollment. And the athletic fields are going to be in full swing operation this spring. We're going to have to operate and manage those, as well as the use, the facilities use components and the revenue from this incredible resource that we have. And believe it or not, the MSBA project is slated to close out in FY23. Some of the major drivers in the budget at this point in time, we're in the 3rd year of a 3-year contract with our teachers, which calls for a 2% cost of living adjustment. Our health insurance, as you recall, we're part of a health trust with 4 other regional vocational schools. They have not set their final rates for FY23, but they recommended that all 5 of the regional vocational schools in the trust carry about a 10% increase at this point in our budgeting. Building utilities is up a bit. Supplies and material costs, as we've all heard, the supply chain issues and the inflation issues are hitting us. And we use supplies and materials that industry uses, so our costs are going up there. The OPEB recommendations that the task force submitted to the school committee and were voted on by the school committee are carried into this budget. We have 2 worksite field trip buses, our local buses that we need to replace. And we want to continue to fund the capital stabilization fund that was created, I believe, in 2016. And that's going to be one of our strategies going forward and run in regards to capacity. Just breaking out the budget a little bit more, our operating expenses are up about 6.5%. What I call our operating capital, that includes the ESCO lease payment, as well as the payment on that 10-year note that was approved for the athletic field lighting. And the MSBA project debt is actually a little bit lower in FY23 than it was this fiscal year. So the real story at Minuteman now and for the next few years is enrollment. Our total enrollment as well as our member town enrollment is increasing. We're projecting about 700 students for the fall. And as this enrollment has shifted, our out-of-district revenue is decreasing, both from the tuition set by the state and the capital fee set by the state. As a result, the member towns are picking up more of the costs and soon all of the costs associated with operating the school and for paying for our building. This slide has a lot of information on it, but it really tells a good story. This blue line across the top is the millions of dollars a year we've had available to us to reduce member town assessments. And the red line here across the bottom, our capital fee went into place in FY19, and we collected funds in FY19 and began using them in FY20 to reduce member town assessments. And that green line across the top is our design enrollment of 628. What I did in this slide was just try to track enrollment with the changes in assessment for each of the member towns. And you can see in the blue, which is the enrollment changes per town on a percentage basis, and the orange, looks orange to me, is the change in assessments. And for most of our towns, they pretty much track together. You can see Bolton has had a large increase in enrollment, but I wouldn't say relatively, Don Lowe wouldn't agree with me there, but we've had less of an increase in the assessment, and that's because of our 4-year rolling average. The regional agreement was revised, and this 4-year rolling average is helping Bolton in the coming year. The other thing I wanted to put on here, this is all the towns. I have individual slides for each town when we go to the town and talk to them. But our per pupil assessments over the last few years, obviously when enrollment increases and costs are kept at a reasonable increase, the per pupil assessments go down. I got to say, these numbers do not include the debt, except for those 2 towns that did not exclude it. And that would be Lexington and Needham, I believe. So what's happening right now for next year? The enrollment trends are continuing. As of today, you can see under year of graduation 2026, these are 8th graders who are currently applying to come here in the fall. We have a total of 358 applications, 270 from our member towns. And we still have 2.5 weeks to go in this application season. And we have a cap of 175 students this fall. We have the shop space, we have the vocational technical space. We just don't have the academic space or the space for special ed. I'll remind folks, we have 47% of our kids are on IEPs. We have a lot of small group activity, a lot of to be in compliance with our IEPs and 504s. So this trend is continuing, and it's very strong. Just the budget again, as we go into the next year, some of the things that we're going to be highlighting or continuing to focus on is maintaining member enrollment. MTI is really starting to take off, not just in terms of what we're doing, but at what the state is doing with its Career and Technical Institute initiative. We have a new website rolling out over the next week or so. We want to increase our content when it comes to social media around alumni success and student success. We want to continue to enlighten the perceptions of our member towns when it comes to the value add of career and technical education. We want to continue strong and vigorous outreach in the middle schools and going a little bit younger as we can. And always promoting our Girls in STEM program and communications with parents and our stakeholder groups. So a little bit more detail on the budget. We're adding support professionals. These could be adjustment counselors, school psychologists. We're adding a programming and web teacher. For the last 3 or 4 years, that has been a one teacher department. I just realized my video was off. Isn't this better? We're adding a robotics automation aide. For 2 years, we've been trying to find a teacher. We haven't. So we're going to declare victory and look for a technical assistant as we expand the logistics engineering program, which we've just received confirmation that we got another $150,000 from the capital skills program for logistics engineering in the warehouse. We're putting an HR support specialist. That's an administrative assistant for HR. And we're bringing back the library and reading aid. In FY24, that'll be a full-time position. Staff, we're not going to be bringing back an internal school suspension professional, the programming and web aid, which was made into a teacher, the logistics engineering teacher, and the HR director position is not filled. In our reorganization, that was eliminated. So our net increase is pretty modest in terms of 1.5 FTEs. The priorities in the CT area: continue to develop our animal science logistics engineering programs, shop material equipment increases, workplace clothing and safety gear for all students, and then the credentialing that we've traditionally done out of grants, we're going to be supporting in the district budget. So we're not, that's at less risk. What are we going to do to increase to 800, which has been a goal we have set? 2 strategies. One is to, as I mentioned earlier, fund the capital stabilization account. We project a balance of about 1.4 million by July 1st. One capacity building project that is in progress is the North Metal Fab expansion, opening in the late fall. Our second strategy is really to leverage strategic partnerships and grants, specifically in the East Campus development area, where the vet clinic is imagined. Between those 2 capacity building projects, we're almost up 100 students. And if we're able to do the full-blown East Campus development project, which would include 6 more classrooms, we could easily be at 800 without borrowing any more money. Our OPEB liability, we're, as I mentioned earlier, we're funding that. The school committee approved a strategy to get more aggressive in funding the OPEB liability, and beginning in FY25, when some other liabilities fall off the balance sheet, we'll be using some of that money to fund the OPEB liability. Just a look at our revenue and how it's dropped from the tuition. You know, we've lost almost $1.5 million in tuition revenue. That's got to be made up by our member towns and other ways that we can. We're increasing E&D. We're expecting an increase in Chapter 78. We're hoping it's going to be more than this, but right now we're being pretty conservative. This is a little bit more detail about what I call the operating capital, where you can see the capital equipment leases and also the ESCO project debt service. These are the components of the assessments. This is all in the budget book, which is on the website, version 5.2, I believe. And this is our overall, that's the overall budget. And I will stop sharing so I can see everybody else and see if there are any questions in the chat. So does anybody have a question from the attendees? I see no questions, Madam Chair. Oh, I do. Jennifer asks, the governor's budget anticipates a lower transportation number. What is the impact? That's a great question. The governor's budget came out yesterday. We've been looking at different components of it. The way that they're discussing transportation reimbursement at this point in time is based upon the actual usage of transportation during COVID. So I think that we really believe that that is going to be corrected as we go through the process with the legislature, because we need to have an increase from our transportation reimbursement as if we were fully operating, you know. So the impact that we calculated, I believe, is about an $85,000 deficit at this point in time. So thanks for bringing that question up. We're still kind of digesting the governor's budget, which I said just came out yesterday, and the cherry sheets just came out today, or late yesterday and today. And we've been pretty close on all our estimates, not enough to change anything for the purposes of the preliminary budget and the preliminary assessments that the school committee will be discussing and voting on later on. You're welcome. Are there any other questions?
No other questions?
No, I don't see any, Madam Chair.
Nothing else can, if there are no other questions, we will adjourn the budget hearing and then reconvene the school committee meeting at 7 o'clock. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
Yes. Yes.
Second,
Okay, let's do our roll call. Pam Nurse Acton, yes?
Michael Ruderman, Arlington, yes.
Dave O'Connor, Bolton, yes.
Steve Ledoux, Concord, yes.
Ford Spalding Dover, yes.
Judy Crocker Lexington, yes.
Jeff Stuland Needham, yes.
Alice Gusto, yes.
Okay, so we will adjourn. The link for the school committee meeting is in your agenda. So I will see you all in a few minutes.
Thank you.